hit the start. You get my notes up.
Pull my mic close.
Pull your mic close.
Ooh, baby.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to LOUDdispatch, episode 3. We're part 2, talking about genres, mainly musical genres and subgenres. We are your hosts,
Mark
and Cheech, and we actually did that right this time. That was pretty good. So yeah, I hope everybody's week has been great. We got some feedback from some people. We got some questions that we're gonna answer today. One in particular. But before we get started here, I would just like to thank our sponsors. This one's near and dear to me, so if anybody gets this, please feel free to comment, and I will be for. I think we're on the same level. Today is brought to you by Motel Hello's Smoked Sausage, the best tasting sausage in all of the county. And just to let you know, they never use preservatives.
Oh, sounds tasty.
This is going to segue into our little discussion here today. So we're talking about like subgenres and stuff, and that's actually from a movie called Motel Hell. Motel Hell, like I said, I kind of figured most people won't get that anyway.
But never seen it, but I'll watch it.
It's a subgenre movie. It's a horror comedy / whatever. So before we get started, I just wanted to start off with like the definition of a genre, okay? Because I don't think we did that in the first episode.
We did not.
So like Wikipedia, we do some like research and everything else. A category. So the definition of a genre is a category of an artist composition, as in music or literature, characterized by similarities in form, style, and subject. So, meaning, like we touched on the first subject, like on the first podcast when we talked about this, it's a classification of music, art, everything that like kind of transcribes into each other and sounds similar to get that. Now,
you got to even break it down into structure of the song,
right?
Things like that. So yeah, it can get very detailed.
Right, exactly. Which brings us to the definition of a subgenre, like subcategory. Subcategory within a particular genre. So again, very simple, basic definition, as you know. But if you didn't know, now you know.
Now you're aware.
Now you're aware. Now this can be used for several different choice, for many different reasons. We have subgenres, mainly for classification. However, we also have them for, like we said before in the first podcast, bringing up extra, to bring up like extra sales, boosting sales, trying to get people to listen to music that they wouldn't normally listen to.
Well, how about this? This thought just crossed my mind.
Sure.
All right. I don't consider all right, let me think of how to say this. I like hip hop.
Right.
Only certain subgenres.
Right.
Like, okay, so you look at rock. I'm a rocker traditionally. I like all rock.
You a rocker?
I'm a rocker. Like a chair. So, but with hip hop, I'm only a fan of certain genres, subgenres. I'm sorry. Hip hop being the genre, then there's the subgenres of old school, gangster rap, mumble. I only like certain subgenres. So, interestingly enough, maybe it opens up a genre to people by classifying subgenres
that they wouldn't normally listen to.
And now I am a hip hop fan, which I would not have been. Had these not. Yeah, we're gonna go with it. It's early in the morning. We're gonna go with it.
No, and that's exactly it too. Like that's exactly my point. Um, so let's give a little backstory here on like the history of genres. All right.
Okay.
Um, so the genre began as an absolute classification system for ancient Greek literature, uh, as it set out in Aristotle's Poetics. For Aristotle, poetics, odes, epics, prose, performances such as these had to be specific design features that support appropriate content for each genre, which is essentially the definition that we have currently.
Okay.
Speech patterns for comedy would not be appropriate for tragedy. For example, even actors who were restricted to their genre under the assumption that a type of person could tell one type of story best. Now, what does that mean? That means so in today's language, this is typecasting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with
Yeah.
that being said, take some of your bands, right? Sublime.
Oh,
Let's just use them for an example, okay?
sure. Sure.
Sublime is known for what?
What genre? Ska punk, mostly reggae-ish.
Reggae-ish. I would go that route. You know what I mean? And to say that, you have all these different, like I said, classifications. The reason, however, that you would classify them under that is because of the style of music that they play, which is another topic that we're going to jump onto here in a second.
Okay.
The style of music that they play, the type of lyrics that they tend to produce,
Hmm.
the way that the actual recordings sound, and the message that they're trying to come across with. Okay.
Hmm.
So this is why we would classify them under like the genres that we would, right? Now, with that being said, genre and style are two different things. And this is something that I
I would
really want
agree.
to point out. You have style where you have artists who have their own sort of
Flair.
flair. You could say it's more like um, uh, the way that they are. Their songs are going to sound the same. All of your artists have this similar sound where you can tell, you can pick it out. Like if you hear a song that you've never heard from them before, you can hear it out because you can
You
pick
could
the
even
style.
you could even do other songs in this style of
Correct.
Sublime. So
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So, with that being said, genre is a completely different thing. Genre is the classification of what this style of music is supposed to be. And to bring us to another point, we're like, what do we classify these genres? Like, how do you classify a genre versus a style, right?
Hmm.
So classifications, and this is just like a brief. You can add more to this if anybody out there feels compelled to. Mark, please feel free to jump in here.
I will.
Um, linguistic functions, meaning like how they sing, the twang. If you listen to country versus hip hop, like we were talking about before.
What about East
Um,
Coast, West Coast hip hop?
exactly.
You know.
This is what I'm saying. You got your rock, rap, you got your corn. You have all these different genres of music, and this is how they're classified. One of the classifications. Okay.
Yeah. Even local dialect affects this portion.
Absolutely. Which is something that we'll get to here, in the future and down the road. Because, like I said, music has to come from somewhere. It has to come locally. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
everybody starts locally. It's not like we're just popped out of machines and it's hey, we're here. Um, formal traits. Now, this is something that goes kind of can relate to style as well.
Okay.
Um, in the sense that if you have a certain style of music that you're doing, it's a formal trait. It's kind of like this is the style of music that we are producing at this time, And again, you know, we'll bring up say Hootie and the Blowfish, right? We haven't talked about them in a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Love Hootie, man.
Everybody does. They're a jam band, but they're also kind of country. You know what I mean? Darius Rucker went off and did his country thing. But again, it's the formal traits of it. You wouldn't classify what, you know, Hootie and the Blowfish are versus what Darius Rucker does. These are formal traits that are similar but have different outcomes. They're different. They're set up differently. Textural organization, right?
Okay.
So textural organization is like how we put together the texture of the music. You could write this ballad, right? But if you put a hip hop beat to it, this ballad now becomes something completely different. So the textural organization of the beat and how the music is done is definitely an important factor in classifying your genre, right?
Agreed.
So we have rap, right? And now we have this country rap, right?
Okay.
So if it was a rap song, didn't have the country twang to it, we would call it a rap song, right?
Correct.
If it had the twang with no rap, we would call that a country song, right? But putting them together, this makes the whole package, right?
I agree.
And,
yes, well put.
And that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make, is the fact that, you know, you have these traits that bring on your genres. Now, with that being said, this is how we classify genres and subgenres, right? Because mainstream, while it might not fit into the whole genre, right? Like Sublime, you wouldn't be like, well, they're weed rock, you know what I mean? Or, you know, you wouldn't say that like Maroon 5 is strictly pop, because Maroon 5 is one of those bands that have just a ton of categories, right?
Yeah.
Whereas then you have certain artists that are nothing but that. Garth Brooks will say is country, right? We'll say
Never been anything else.
Right. That's it. That's all he's been.
Yes.
Butch Walker, he's transitioning a little bit, but this is somebody that we'd like to talk about in the future again. Has more appeal, if you will, to different genres, going from glam rock to rock to this like weird kind of solo. Now we're into like this funk thing or folk thing, you know.
Folk, yeah, that's what I've been noticing from him a lot lately.
Right. And this is the true testament of an artist. Can you take your style, can you take your genre, and can you bring it to different lights? Can you bring these subgenres to these different lights and everything else, right?
Yeah. That or a true crossover. Not
correct.
Bringing your genre in, but bringing your style into a new genre.
Right, which makes sense.
Not crossing them, yeah.
Exactly my point. So, with that being said, the subgenre was created because we have genres, right? We have specific genres. We're like, all right, rap, country, you know, whatever, swing, this, that. And mind you, it changes over the years. Music, art always tends to follow a curve, okay? So what's popular in like the 20s may not be popular again until the 40s or the 50s, whatever. But it follows this trend, right? And I bring up this point of like a lot of people in a few years ago were getting into this like jazz fusion, but it was like swing fusion. And it was like swing with an infusion of like bass drums and like kind of making it like electro. So it's like electro swing, right?
Okay.
So this is a subgenre, electro swing, right? We're doing this as a selling point, and we're also doing this to create what we now know as like the subgenre, right?
Organization.
Correct.
We have a desire to classify things so that we can explain them.
Right. Now, if we can, I would like to get to one of the questions that we had from this week on our Loud Dispatch post.
We can, yay!
Mark, I'll let you actually get to this if you would like to read it.
Let me get to it to
if
read
you
it.
can bring it up.
I was not ready for this. Excuse me.
I kind of figured. Well, actually, I was ready for this, and I think I still have it up.
I got it right here.
Oh,
So,
okay, fine.
Lacey Rafosco wants us to cover the evolution of bluegrass country to pop country.
Okay. So.
Thank you, Lacey.
Yeah, thank you, Lacey. Thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for, responding to us. We're going to try to answer this the best that we can, okay? So doing some research, like we just said, art comes in curves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with bluegrass music is a genre of American roots music that developed in the 1940s in the United States Appalachian region, okay?
Okay.
So it's a relatively new genre. You know what I mean? Maybe
I had
like
no idea.
80.
I thought this was like Civil War era music.
And here's the thing. It may have been just called under a different name. Okay.
Yeah, this is true.
The genre derives its name from the band Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys. Bluegrass has roots in traditional English, Scottish, and Irish ballads and dance tunes, and in traditional African American blues and jazz. Bluegrass was further developed by musicians who played with Monroe, including, and it goes on and on and on. But basically, it's a Baptist, a bluesy, a jazzy, and it has a lonesome sound. Now, so this is like your typical like country. I wouldn't say typical country, but I would say that this is like a country type of music to begin with. Okay.
Well, here, let me read.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
please.
So from musicfans.stackexchange.com, that doesn't really matter, but what they say is interesting. Bluegrass is a subgenre of country music, which you were covering.
Correct.
With characteristics that differentiate it from mainstream country. The instrumentation is purely string band, based guitar, banjo, mandolin, fiddle, and upright bass.
Mm-hmm.
There's more emphasis on an acoustic sound.
Mm-hmm.
The music is more free and the structure is more complex. So if that helps, think about country with drums, percussive instruments. Bluegrass really doesn't contain much of this. It might contain a slight like spoons or guitar tapping, but you would not find a drum set or anything within a bluegrass band in typical cases.
Now, I would like to point out, like I said, we do the curve, right? The music curve, mm-hmm. How music comes in waves and everything else. So to answer your question, why are we going to pop country? What is selling? We established that pop is popular music, right? Bluegrass might be estranging itself. However, bluegrass country might be something that's on its way back into the swing of art. So right now, pop country is like your big thing, your subgenre. This is what everybody wants to listen to, rock country. I actually, and it's odd that you bring this up because I actually had this conversation at work. Country is one of my least favorite genres. I don't know why. I can't figure it out. I've been trying. I really, really am trying. But I can't get it. And I'm talking to this guy at work, and I'm like, what are some of your favorite country singers? I want to know. I want to know what you like about it. Like, what do you find appealing about country music, right? And he said, well, I like the rock end of it. I like the fact that country is going more towards rock and like this pop vibe.
Okay.
Now, that kind of struck me, right? Because I would think that if you're into country, you would want the exact opposite, right?
Purity.
Right. You would want purity. You would want more of that like bluegrassy kind of like twangy kind of country sound. But again, we get back to these subgenres. what's selling right now. You know what I mean? You got all these country stars that used to produce like more country, and now they're producing more of a rock type country, more of a pop type country.
I had a thought on this.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, this is rare. Let me say it. At some point, country, the 3-chord rock rule that makes popular music, that what they've discovered is this 3-chord rule is the most pleasing, setup of music to the ear. So at some point, I think all genres start to adopt this idea.
Yes.
So you take, when rock started, it was not a 3-chord thing. It was every chord you could throw at it as fast as you could do it, as loud, but they started to refine the sound and direct it towards people and what's scientifically most attractive to the ear, which is what they do with art. That's what graphic design is, literally the art form or the science of making something attractive to the eye and easy to understand. So I think they've done that with music, and I think that's just the natural evolution of a genre.
Not to interrupt you, but
I'm done.
I love that point that you brought up about the fact that the 3-chord rule. There is like certain chords that are more pleasing to the ear, so people want to listen to them. Now, with that being said, right, you have your country music. You can apply these 3 chords, you can apply these multiple chords to this and create this music that's going to be, popular.
Pleasing, scientifically pleasing to the ear.
Scientifically pleasing. Now,
the
with
chords
that,
don't have to be power chords. They're just
correct.
3 chords in a beautiful arrangement.
With that being said, we have talked about the past. We like to talk about the past, the present, and the future of where things are going, right? So, in the 40s, we had different musical instruments than we have now. We now have electronic devices. We have all these different things that we can produce things. We can make things happen. It doesn't have to be live. We don't have to have a fucking mandolin here or a banjo to just be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can have these things still. However, we now have the capability of using other musical devices, MIDI devices that are like amazingly accurate.
We're going electro country, baby.
And this is a subgenre. Exactly. This
it's
is exactly
coming.
No. It's here. Electro country is here. There are electro country artists out there.
Oh, that excites me.
And you should check it out. There's all kinds of types of subgenres out there. If you can think of it, you're more than likely able to find it. And I encourage.
Are we talking like dubstep country, or are you talking just like Muse style band playing country with iPads and their guitars and stuff?
Check it out. You'll see what I mean.
All right.
There's different forms of it. Like there's way different forms of it.
I'm seeing like rave country, like a bunch of people in a barn throwing light tubes and shit around, and to
weird
Billy
stuff.
Ray Cyrus on turntables.
Right. Flip the script real quick. Again, like we said, it comes in waves again. So, right now we have this a few years ago, I don't know if anybody followed it, but like everything was like, we're going back to acoustic. Everything. And then we're talking years ago, right? Like everything's going back to acoustic because we got this electro vibe, we got this like metal vibe, we got this. Let's take it back to the basics. Let's take it back to like, string instruments and like, bongos and like really keeping it like close niche. Then we were like, we have computers. We can do all this crazy stuff. Now we have loopers. Now we have beats. Now we have like all these different genres popping up. We have all kinds of crazy stuff that we can do. We realize that we can take somebody's creative art and make it our own just by changing a few separate things. And there's nothing wrong with that. Art is created to be expounded upon. If you look at a piece of art, right? And it does nothing for you, that art is pointless. The whole idea of art, right, is to have it pull on your heartstrings.
Evoke emotion.
Evoke emotion.
Yes.
Right. Now, there's a difference between stealing and paying homage, which we'll come to at a different point. But I think this is a good like wrap up of like kind of like the subgenre and the genre,
how they work together, and
right,
how they're used. I agree.
Right. So with that being said, let's start some final thoughts. Mark, you want to go ahead and go first, or do you want me to go first?
No, you go first. I'm not ready.
All right. So I got a couple of final thoughts here as far as genres are concerned. Genres are put in place to classify music so that we know, if we like this artist, we're going to like this artist. And a lot of this may seem mundane to people who understand this. But if not, this is why we do this. We create genres. How do you think Pandora was created, right?
Mm-hmm.
They take a genre, they take an artist, they take this, and then they go, okay, well, these guys sound like these guys based on the qualifications that we gave you, you know what I mean? And created an algorithm to make these playlists for you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, art comes in waves. You're going to see this. This is music. This is film. This is, literature. This is everything. Everything is based off of something else. It's just how we choose to create it and how the world adapts to it that makes it what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think that's going to end my final notes. Please, by all means, ask more questions. We'd love to answer them. We'd love to find out more. Go ahead.
We may not even be able to answer it, but we'd love to discuss it.
Absolutely.
We're not experts on anything, but we like to talk.
Yeah.
We like to discuss and, debate. So
we like to hear what your thoughts are.
And
we would like to, like I said, open this conversation, open this dialect about music, genre, art in general, where it's going and where it's going to go. Right.
Yeah.
Mark, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I enjoy subgenre. Subgenre is growing. As a rock fan, I love to see mix-ups, mashups. I loved the rap rock era, which I was growing up in. So, they're
Right.
heavy metal, speed metal. I like to see country rock right now. I think is really, I'm getting into it a lot. I've always kind of liked bluegrass and, folk, and I'm a bass player. So anything bass driven is something I'm enjoying. But for me, I really love the mashing up of subgenres, and the more creative, sometimes the better. I cannot wait to listen to rave country. I want to call it country rave, maybe.
I think you should listen to some electro jazz first. I think
electro jazz. Okay.
Listen to some electro jazz, blow your mind. Trap scat. I mean, like, we have some weird.
You showed me some, I think. So
yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. And
final thoughts.
Yeah.
Keep being creative.
Yes.
Question everything.
Yes. Question everything. Please ask away. Like I said, this is your show. This is your show. Once we're done with quarantine, we're going to have some guests on. We're going to have their aspects of it. And
we'll do longer episodes also.
Yeah. Like I said, this one's strictly about subgenres of music. The next one, not quite sure yet, but we'll let you know on our page.
Or offer suggestions.
Right. Facebook, Instagram.
Loud Dispatch on Facebook, Loud Dispatch Podcast on Instagram, Loud Dispatch on YouTube, I believe.
You can search for us. We're on there.
Just look up. Yeah, it's Loud Dispatch.
Exactly. Everyone, I hope you have a great day, and we'll be talking to you real soon.
Yep. Good morning, good evening, and good night. Cheers.
Cheers.